Hi, everybody. This is SAAD for the SAAD Truth. Many of you who follow my work are familiar with my diagnosis of a collective malady of disordered thinking known as ostrich parasitic syndrome. This OPS diagnosis really refers to a broad range of ways by which people can either ignore information, process information incorrectly, deny information. So all sorts of strategies by which people engage in disordered thinking. And so one of the goals of my next book is to explore the reasons why such viruses of the human mind have arisen, and then what are some ways by which we can inoculate ourselves from disordered thinking. And in thinking about how to go about presenting the case, one of the things that I've noticed is that people are oftentimes unwilling to alter their positions despite the incredible amount of evidence to the contrary. So some of you might have heard me lecture about nomological networks of cumulative evidence. This is something that I've written about in a 2017 scientific paper that I published in the journal Marketing Research, where I was laying out the epistemology of evolutionary psychology. And so in nomological networks of cumulative evidence, what you're basically trying to do is, if you wish to explain, say, the adaptive roots of a particular phenomenon, you will then present evidence, theoretical evidence, medical evidence, cross-cultural evidence, cross-temporal evidence, evidence from different disciplines, different paradigms, different procedures, different data sources, all of which, when put together, provide you with an unassailable case in support of your argument. This is very much what Darwin did in presenting his case for natural selection, for the theory of evolution, in his 1859 book, although he didn't call it nomological networks of cumulative evidence. So in this case, what I'm arguing is that if you present people with enough evidence, the tsunami of collected evidence should hopefully sway them away from their non-veridical position. But there's a twist to that story. This presumes that the people who you're trying to sway are honest processors of information. And what I mean by that is that they have sufficient epistemic humility to say, well, if you show me evidence that is contrary to my position, I'm willing to revise my position. And that's what any good scientist should do, right? This is why we talk about scientific evidence as being provisional in nature. It's provisional until someone comes along and either proves it wrong, or you have to put some boundary conditions around that information. And so in that sense, there's always this epistemic humility that is implicit to the scientific method. Now, in some cases, people are very much motivated information processors, meaning that they only process information in a way that supports their a priori positions. And in this case, all of the information in the world might not be able to sway them. I alluded to this in my 2011 book, The Consuming Instinct. I just want to read you a really nice quote. This is on page 275. I'm quoting the Harvard economist John Kenneth Galbraith, who said, "Faced with the choice between changing one's mind and proving that there is no need to do so, almost everyone gets busy on the proof." In other words, most people have a penchant to try to work hard to prove that their position is correct, rather than to honestly and in an unbiased manner listen to information and have the humility to be willing to change their position if the evidence points away from their position. And I just wanted to mention one or two other interesting examples of this type of phenomenon where it is very, very difficult to get people to move away from their anchored position. So this comes from a 2007 article published in Pew Research Center in the subsection Religion and Public Life. I'll put a link to it in the description section of this clip. The article is titled "How the Public Resolves Conflicts Between Faith and Science" by David Mocchi, M-A-S-C-I. This is actually a very interesting issue because people's religious beliefs are sacrosanct. I mean, they're sort of, you start off with these inviolable truths, revealed truths. And then the idea is, by definition, if you have faith in those beliefs, they're not really within the purview of being scrutinized. In other words, if information were to come in, scientific information that would compel you to question your religious beliefs, would you have the epistemic humility to alter your beliefs? And so here's what this poll found. Let me just read you the exact quote. When asked what they would do if scientists were to disprove a particular religious belief, nearly 2/3, 64% of people say they would continue to hold to what their religion teaches rather than accept the contrary scientific finding, according to the results of an October 2006 Time magazine poll. Indeed, in a May 2007 Gallup poll, only 14% of those who say they do not believe in evolution cite lack of evidence as the main reason underpinning their views. More people cite their belief in Jesus, 19%, God, 16%, or religion generally, 16%, as the reason for rejecting Darwin's theory. So what this is basically saying is that all of the evidence that you could amass in support of some scientific truth stands no chance against a revealed truth, say, from your religious beliefs. So it gives you a sense of how difficult it is to oftentimes get people to alter their positions. And you see that in today's environment of hyper-political partisanship or tribalism. No amount of evidence can sway someone from the one side of the political aisle to ever question the veracity or the possibility that the other side might have a valid point. I'll just cite one other article. This came out in The Atlantic, article by Julie Beck in March 13, 2017. I'll also put a link to the article in the description section. It's titled, "This Article Won't Change Your Mind. The Facts on Why Facts Alone Can't Fight False Beliefs." And I'll just read you one small quote. "There are facts and there are beliefs, and there are things you want so badly to believe that they become as facts to you." So again, this shows you that my cure, if you'd like, for faulty information when it comes to scientific discourse, the idea of building systematically these nomological networks of cumulative evidence, only works with people who have the intellectual honesty and the epistemic humility to say, show me the evidence and I'm willing to reconsider my position. But in many domains, politics, religion, that approach may not be sufficient. And so this is the type of stuff that I'll be exploring in my next book. I hope that you will check it out once it comes out. I'm not exactly sure when it will come out, but it certainly won't be for at least another year. Hope that you're having a good week. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.